The city of Ashford respected only two things: power and money. Tall towers of glass stood over the streets like kings. Expensive cars moved through bright roads while poor people walked with their heads down. In this city, kindness had little value. But on one strange night, everything began to change because of one rich man and one poor girl. At the center of Ashford stood the Grand Royal Hotel, the most famous building in the city. Inside its golden ballroom, the richest families had gathered for a special event. They came dressed in diamonds, silk, and pride. Fathers stood tall. Mothers smiled with hidden plans. Young women wore expensive gowns and looked around with greedy eyes. They were all there for one person, Ethan Vale. He was the youngest billionaire in the country. He owned hotels, factories, ships, and land worth billions. Newspapers called him a genius. Business leaders feared him. But tonight, no one admired him. They only stared at the scar across his face. A deep silver mark ran from his eyebrow to his jaw. It came from the terrible fire that killed his parents 3 years earlier. Since that night, people no longer saw Ethan as powerful. They saw him as damaged. Ethan stood alone near the stage in a black suit. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold. One by one, rich families approached him with fake smiles and polite lies. "My daughter is too young for marriage. Our family is moving away soon. She has already promised to someone else." Behind those soft words was one ugly truth. They did not want a scarred man, even if he was rich. Some people laughed quietly. Others whispered cruel jokes. Money cannot fix that face. Even billionaires can be rejected. Ethan heard every word, but he showed no pain. He simply nodded and thanked them. The crowd began to enjoy the humiliation. Then the host called the next guest, Mrs. Clara Benson and her daughter, Lily Benson. The room became silent for a moment, then filled with laughter. Clara Benson was known by many people there. She cleaned rooms in the Grand Royal Hotel for 15 years. She washed sheets, polished floors, and carried bags for guests who never learned her name. Now she entered the ballroom wearing an old blue dress. Her shoes were worn and her hands shook with fear. Beside her walked Lily. And suddenly, the laughter stopped. Lily wore a simple white dress with no jewels and no designer label. Yet she carried herself with quiet pride. Her eyes were clear and fearless. She looked around the room without shame. Rich daughters glared at her with anger. "Why is a maid here?" one whispered. "This is disgusting," another said. Clara lowered her head, ready to leave, but Lily stepped forward. The host looked confused. "Mrs. Benson, are you here to serve drinks?" More laughter followed. Lily answered before her mother could speak. "No, we are here because we received an invitation." The room exploded again. Men laughed loudly. Women covered their mouths. One girl said, "Maybe the billionaire wants a servant wife." Ethan did not laugh. He watched Lily closely. She was the only person in the room who had not looked at his scar even once. The host cleared his throat. "Very well, if you came for the selection, then tell us why." Lily turned toward Ethan. Her voice was calm and clear. "I came because he is the only honest person in this room." The ballroom froze. Smiles vanished. Rich fathers looked offended. Mothers looked shocked. Ethan's eyes narrowed with interest. Lily continued, "These people came for his money. Then they saw one scar and ran away. That means they loved wealth, not character." A man shouted, "How dare you speak like that?" Lily did not move. She pointed gently toward Ethan. "That scar means he survived pain. It means he knows loss. It means he is stronger than all of you." Silence covered the ballroom like a storm cloud. Even the music stopped. Clara looked ready to faint. Ethan stepped forward slowly. For the first time that night, emotion touched his face. "What is your name?" he asked. "Lily Benson," she replied. "And why would a maid's daughter defend me?" Ethan asked. Lily looked directly into his eyes. "Because poor people still know how to see truth. Rich people often forget." Several guests stormed out in anger. Others stood frozen in shock. Then Ethan did something no one expected. He smiled. It was not a business smile or a public smile. It was real. He removed a black ring from his finger, stepped closer, and placed it in Lily's hand. "Miss Benson," he said calmly, "meet me tomorrow morning for breakfast at 8. Gasps filled the room. Famous models and daughters of powerful men had begged for Ethan's attention for years, but he invited a maid's daughter instead. Lily looked at the ring, then back at him. "I will come," she said. Ethan nodded once and walked away. The event ended in chaos. Rich families shouted, daughters cried. Rumors spread across the city before midnight, but none of them knew the truth. Ethan had not chosen Lily because she was beautiful. He chose her because she had courage. And Lily had not come for marriage at all. She came for a secret reason connected to the fire that killed Ethan's parents. By sunrise, both their lives would begin to change forever. Morning sunlight touched the towers of Ashford, but the city was already alive with gossip. Every phone screen carried the same story. The billionaire Ethan Vale had rejected the elite and invited a maid's daughter to breakfast. Rich families were furious. News channels repeated the ballroom footage again and again. Social media called Lily Benson a gold digger, a liar, a lucky nobody. But inside a small rented apartment on the edge of the city, Lily sat quietly at a wooden table, untouched tea growing cold in front of her. Clara paced the room in panic. Her hands trembled as she spoke. "You should not go. Those people are dangerous. Rich people smile outside and attack inside." Lily stayed calm. She opened her hand and looked at the black ring Ethan had given her. A small symbol was carved inside it, the shape of a flame crossed by a silver line. Her eyes hardened for 1 second, then softened again. "I have to go," she said. Clara stopped walking. "Why? Tell me the truth, Lily. Why did you go there last night?" Lily stood and kissed her mother's forehead. "Because some doors only open once." She did not explain more. At exactly 8 o'clock, a black car stopped outside the apartment building. Neighbors rushed to windows. Children pointed from balconies. The driver opened the door without speaking. Lily stepped in while Clara watched with fear in her eyes. The car moved across the city toward Ethan's private estate on the northern hill. Tall gates opened silently. Security cameras followed every movement. The mansion beyond the gates looked less like a home and more like a fortress of stone and glass. Lily noticed everything: the guards, the cameras, the locked side roads. She also noticed one thing missing: happiness. Inside, Ethan waited in a breakfast room surrounded by giant windows. The table was simple, no gold decorations, no servants standing nearby, just coffee, bread, fruit, and silence. He rose when Lily entered. "You came," he said. "You invited me," she replied. Ethan gestured to the chair across from him. "Most people in this city run toward my money. You are the first person who walked toward my scar." Lily sat down. "Because scars tell the truth. Money often lies." Ethan gave a small smile. He poured tea into her cup himself. A billionaire serving a maid's daughter would have shocked the city even more than last night. "Tell me who you are," he said. Lily looked out the window before answering. "A girl who grew up watching her mother clean floors while rich people stepped over her. A girl who learned that powerful men hide ugly things behind clean suits." Ethan studied her face carefully. "You speak like someone who came here for more than breakfast." Lily met his eyes. "And you invite strangers like a man who trusts no one." For the first time in years, Ethan laughed. It was short but real. Then his face turned serious. "3 years ago, my parents died in a fire. Everyone said it was an accident. I never believed them." Lily's fingers tightened under the table. Ethan noticed. "You know something," he said quietly. She did not answer. Before he could press further, the doors burst open. A tall woman entered in a red designer suit, followed by 2 guards. Her face was sharp with anger. "So the rumors are true," she said. "You replaced Ashford's finest women with a servant." Ethan's expression turned cold at once. "You entered my home without permission, Victoria." Victoria Hale was one of the city's most powerful investors. She had once expected to marry Ethan and join his empire. Now jealousy burned in her eyes. She looked Lily up and down with open disgust. "This girl wants your fortune." Lily remained seated. "And you wanted his fortune with better clothing." The room fell silent. Victoria stepped forward. "Do you know who I am?" Lily answered calmly. "A woman who hears no too often." Ethan almost smiled again. Victoria turned to him. "Throw her out now or the board will hear about your behavior." Ethan stood slowly. "Then let them hear it. Leave." Victoria's face turned pale with rage. She pointed at Lily. "This is not over." She stormed out, heels striking the marble floor like gunshots. After the doors closed, Ethan looked at Lily with new curiosity. "Most people fear her." Lily lifted her cup. "Most people should." Ethan sat again. "Now I am certain you are not here for money." Lily reached into her bag and placed an old silver locket on the table. Ethan stared at it, shocked. His hand shook as he picked it up. "This belonged to my mother," he whispered. "Where did you get this?" Lily's voice became low and serious. From the ruins of the fire, Ethan's chair scraped back as he stood. His breathing changed. "That place was sealed by police." Lily looked directly at him. "Then ask yourself why a poor maid's daughter was there before the police arrived." Ethan's world tilted in 1 second. Questions he carried for 3 years suddenly had a face sitting across from him. "Who are you really?" he asked. Lily's eyes filled with pain, but her voice stayed steady. "Someone whose father also died that night." The breakfast room became colder than winter. Outside, the city still chased gossip. Inside the mansion, Ethan realized the girl everyone mocked might be the key to the darkest secret of his life. And before the hour ended, she was about to tell him a name that could destroy Ashford forever. The breakfast room fell into complete silence after Lily's last words. Ethan Vale stood frozen, the silver locket still shaking in his hand. For 3 years he had searched for answers, hired investigators, questioned former employees, and followed every rumor about the fire that killed his parents. He found nothing but lies and closed doors. Now a poor maid's daughter sat across from him, holding a truth that could change everything. Ethan slowly sat down again. His voice became low and sharp. "Tell me everything." Lily did not rush. She looked at the window as if gathering strength from the morning light. "My father worked as a night electrician in your old family mansion," she said. "He was there the night of the fire." Ethan's jaw tightened. "The reports said all workers left before midnight." "The reports were false," Lily replied. "My father was called back after midnight by someone important. He said the wiring in the West Wing needed emergency repair." Ethan leaned forward. "Who called him?" Lily shook her head. "He never told us. He only said the voice belonged to a powerful person." Ethan's mind raced. "Then what happened?" Lily took a breath. "He never came home." Clara found his burned toolbox 2 days later near the mansion ruins. Police told her he died trying to escape the flames. They gave no body, no real answers, only silence. Ethan looked down at the locket again. "And this?" "My mother found it near the back garden gate before the police blocked the area," Lily said. "She kept it hidden. She feared rich people more than fire." Ethan remembered that locket clearly. His mother wore it every day. It never left her neck. If it was found near the garden gate, then she may have escaped the bedroom before dying. That meant the official story was wrong. Before Ethan could speak, a loud alarm suddenly echoed through the mansion. Red lights flashed across the ceiling. Security doors locked with heavy metallic sounds. Ethan stood instantly. "Stay here." But Lily was already on her feet. "Someone triggered the perimeter," she said. Ethan looked at her with surprise. "How do you know that sound?" Lily answered without emotion. "Because my father installed systems like yours." Ethan pressed a button on the wall. A screen opened, showing camera feeds around the estate. 3 black SUVs had stopped outside the main gate. Men in dark suits stepped out. At the center stood Victoria Hale, smiling coldly. Ethan's face darkened. She came back too fast. Lily watched the screen carefully. She did not come for revenge, she came for something urgent. Ethan opened the security channel. "Do not let them in," a guard's voice answered with panic. "Sir, they have a legal warrant signed by the city board. They claim emergency financial review." Ethan cursed under his breath. "She is using politics." Lily turned to him. "Then they are afraid." Ethan looked at her sharply. "Afraid of what?" Lily pointed at the locket in his hand. "That you finally know the fire was murder." Heavy footsteps approached from the hallway. Ethan moved fast, guiding Lily through a side door into a private study lined with books and steel cabinets. He locked it behind them. "No one knows this room exists," he said. Lily's eyes moved across the shelves until they stopped on an old framed photo. It showed Ethan as a boy standing beside his parents and a younger man in a gray suit. Lily stepped closer. "Who is that?" Ethan looked at the photo. "Marcus Thorne, my father's business partner. He disappeared after the fire." Lily's face changed instantly. "No, he did not disappear." Ethan turned. "What do you mean?" Lily pointed to the man in the picture. "I saw him 2 weeks ago." The room went still. Ethan's heartbeat pounded in his ears. "Where?" "At a charity gala downtown," Lily said. He was older, heavier, with gray hair, but it was him. Ethan stared at the photo again. Marcus Thorne had been declared dead by many people, vanished by others. If he was alive, then the past had been hidden on purpose. A sudden crash came from outside the study. Someone was forcing doors open across the mansion. Ethan moved to a cabinet and entered a code. Inside was a handgun, files, and a small hard drive. He took the drive and left the weapon behind. Lily noticed. "You do not carry guns." Ethan closed the cabinet. "If I need one inside my own home, I already lost." Another crash echoed louder. Voices shouted in the hallway. Victoria's voice rose above them. "Find the girl." Ethan and Lily exchanged a look. Now there was no doubt she was the target. Ethan opened a hidden panel behind the bookshelf. A narrow passage appeared. "This leads to the garage," he said. Lily did not move. "If we run now, they win." Ethan replied, "If we stay, they bury the truth." She nodded and stepped into the tunnel with him. They moved through the dark passage while the mansion above filled with chaos. As they reached the garage, Ethan's phone buzzed. "Unknown number," he answered. A deep male voice spoke only one sentence. "Ask Lily why her father was paid before he died." The line went dead. Ethan stopped walking. Lily slowly turned toward him. In the dim garage light, secrets stood between them again. Ethan realized she had brought answers into his life, but perhaps she had also brought lies. And somewhere in Ashford, a ghost from the fire was watching them both. The underground garage was cold and silent, but Ethan Vale's mind was burning. The unknown caller's words repeated inside his head. "Ask Lily why her father was paid before he died." He slowly lowered the phone and looked at Lily in the dim light. Her face remained calm, yet her eyes showed something deeper now, something she had tried to hide. Ethan's voice turned hard. "What did he mean?" Lily did not answer at once. Glanced toward the tunnel door, listening to the distant sounds of men searching the mansion above. Then she looked back at Ethan. "It means my father accepted money the night he died." Ethan stepped closer. "Money for what?" Lily swallowed once. "To do a job he should never have accepted." The words hit Ethan harder than anger. For years he believed his family had been victims of strangers. Now the daughter of the only witness stood before him, admitting her father was involved. "You knew this?" he asked. "Not everything," Lily said quietly. "Only pieces. My mother found cash hidden in our home after his death. More money than he could earn in 10 years. She burned most of it because she feared where it came from." Ethan stared at her, fighting the urge to walk away. "And you waited until now to tell me?" Lily's voice sharpened for the first time. "Because if I told you before, would you believe a maid's daughter accusing powerful people? Or would you protect your father's old friends?" Ethan said nothing. Deep down, he knew she was right. Wealth built walls around truth. A loud metallic bang echoed from the tunnel entrance. Someone had found the hidden passage. Ethan acted fast. He grabbed car keys from the wall and opened a black armored sedan. "Get in." Lily entered without protest. Ethan drove the car through a private exit tunnel that opened behind the estate hill. As the gate rose, morning sunlight flooded the vehicle. Behind them, alarms screamed across the mansion. They sped into the city while news helicopters circled above the northern district. Ashford had no idea its richest man was fleeing his own home. Inside the moving car, silence stretched between them. Finally, Ethan spoke. "Tell me exactly what your father did." Lily looked ahead through the windshield. "He was hired to disable the West Wing alarms and emergency sprinklers for 1 hour. Ethan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "So the fire could spread." "Yes," Lily said softly. "But he believed the house would be empty. He thought it was insurance fraud. He never knew your parents were inside." Ethan's chest felt heavy. The official report claimed system failure caused the blaze. In truth, someone had ordered it, planned it, paid for it. "Who hired him?" Ethan asked. Lily shook her head. "He never told us the name, but before he died he left one clue." She pulled a folded paper from inside her sleeve. It was old and worn. Ethan opened it at a red light. 3 words were written in rough pencil. "Blue Harbor account." Ethan frowned. "That sounds like a bank route." "Or a shell company," Lily said. "My father wrote it while dying. My mother hid the note for years." Ethan looked at her with growing confusion. "Why show me now?" Lily answered without blinking. "Because I came to finish what my parents could not. Expose whoever killed them both." Ethan drove faster. For the first time, he no longer saw Lily as a stranger. She was another survivor dragged through the same fire. But before trust could settle, his phone rang again. This time the screen showed a known name. Victor Hale, board chairman, Victoria's father. Ethan answered on speaker. Victor's voice was smooth and dangerous. "Son, the city is worried. You disappeared with a young woman after a board inspection. Ugly story for the media." Ethan kept driving. "Say what you called to say," Victor chuckled. "Return Miss Benson to us and the board forgets today. Keep her and every contract you own freezes by sunset." Lily's eyes narrowed. Ethan replied coldly. "Interesting demand for a girl you claim not to know." The line went silent for 2 seconds. Then Victor spoke lower. "Some people are safer buried in poverty than raised into importance." He disconnected. Ethan and Lily exchanged a look. That single sentence confirmed everything. The Hale family knew her value. Ethan turned sharply onto an old industrial road leading toward the abandoned docks. "Where are we going?" Lily asked. "To Blue Harbor," Ethan said. She frowned. "You know it?" Ethan nodded. "Blue Harbor was one of my father's oldest shipping terminals, closed 1 month after the fire. Rusted cranes rose in the distance like skeletons. Broken warehouses lined the water. The sea wind carried salt and secrets." Ethan parked beside a locked gate wrapped in chains. Above it, faded letters still read Blue Harbor Terminal. Lily stepped out beside him. "Why would your father's terminal be on my father's note?" Ethan looked at the dark warehouse beyond the fence. "Because whatever happened that night began here." Before either could move, a voice came from behind them. "You both ask good questions." They turned sharply. An older man stood near the shadows holding a cane, gray hair, expensive coat, calm eyes. Lily's face went pale. Ethan recognized him from the family photo instantly. Marcus Thorne. The dead partner had been waiting for them, and judging by the smile on his face, he had expected them all along. The cold wind from the abandoned docks moved through the broken fences of Blue Harbor Terminal. Ethan Vale and Lily Benson stood still as the man in front of them stepped forward from the shadows. His cane touched the ground with a slow, confident rhythm. His eyes were calm, but there was something dangerous behind that calmness. Marcus Thorne. The name Ethan had seen only in old photographs now stood alive in front of him. For a moment, Ethan could not speak. Lily took a small step back, her breath uneven. Marcus smiled slightly as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. "I see the past finally found its way back to me," he said in a low voice. Ethan tightened his fists. "You are supposed to be dead." Marcus tilted his head. "People say many things when they want the truth to disappear." Lily's voice came out carefully. "You knew my father." Marcus looked at her for the first time. "I knew many men who thought they were only fixing wires." Ethan stepped closer. "You were in that house the night of the fire." Marcus did not deny it. Instead, he slowly walked toward the broken edge of the dock. "I was there long before the fire," he said, "and I was there after it started." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "You planned it." Marcus gave a small laugh. "No, Ethan, I only watched it happen the way it was supposed to." Lily's hands trembled. "You used my father." Marcus nodded slowly. "He was honest. That was his weakness. People like him always believe they are fixing small problems. They never see the bigger machine behind them." Ethan's voice turned sharp. "Who ordered it?" Marcus turned back toward them. "You still ask the wrong question." He tapped his cane lightly on the ground. "The question is not who. The question is why your family had to be removed." Silence fell between them. The waves below the dock hit the pillars with slow, heavy sounds. Marcus continued. "Your father discovered something in this terminal weeks before the fire, something that should have never been recorded." Ethan felt a strange coldness rise inside him. "What kind of thing?" Marcus looked at Lily instead of Ethan. "A name your father never spoke out loud." Lily stepped forward slightly. "Blue Harbor account." Marcus's expression changed for the first time. Not fear, not surprise, but recognition. "So the note survived," he said quietly. Ethan watched carefully. "You know about it." Marcus sighed. "That account was never just money, it was control, people, contracts, governments, everything hidden inside numbers." Ethan felt anger rising. "My father was killed because of money." Marcus shook his head. "No, he was killed because he saw where the money was going." Lily's voice became stronger. And my father, Marcus looked at her fully now. He was paid to shut down systems. He was never meant to survive the night. Lily stepped back like she had been hit. Ethan immediately looked at her. You did not know that, she shook her head slowly. My mother never told me everything. Marcus took a slow breath. Your father was not the target, he was the tool. The real target was your family, Ethan. Ethan froze. What are you saying? Marcus pointed his cane toward him. Your father found proof that Blue Harbor was not just a terminal. It was a transfer point for illegal power funding. He planned to expose it. Ethan's mind flashed with memories. His father working late nights, secret meetings, locked documents, and the fire, Ethan asked. Marcus's voice lowered. Was the reset button? Lily whispered, so they erased everything. Marcus nodded. Almost everything. Ethan stepped forward again. Why are you telling us this now? Marcus looked at both of them carefully. Because the system that created that fire is active again. A sudden vibration came from Ethan's phone. Unknown number again. This time a message appeared instead of a call. Blue Harbor will be closed permanently tonight. Lily read it aloud. Her face turned pale. Marcus exhaled slowly. They know you are here. Ethan looked at the empty terminal, the broken cranes, the dark water. Who are they? Marcus answered with one word. The board. Lily turned sharply. Victoria's father. Marcus nodded. Victor Hale is only one face. The board is older, deeper, and far more patient. Ethan felt something shift inside him, not fear, determination. Then we end it. Marcus smiled faintly. You cannot end what you do not fully see. Suddenly, headlights appeared at the entrance gate, multiple vehicles fast approaching. Marcus turned his head slightly. And now they have come to finish the loose ends. Ethan grabbed Lily's arm. We leave now. But Lily stopped him. No, both men looked at her. Her voice was steady now, different from before. If we run again, the truth stays buried. Marcus studied her carefully. And what do you suggest, girl? Lily looked at the approaching lights. We force them to show everything. Ethan's expression changed slowly. For the first time he saw not fear in her but strategy. Marcus smiled again, darker this time. Interesting, the maid's daughter wants war. The vehicles stopped outside the gate. Doors opened. Footsteps approached. The night at Blue Harbor was no longer just about answers. It had become a trap where truth and power would collide. And whatever walked through those gates next would decide whether Ethan Vale's world survived or burned again. The headlights from the approaching vehicles filled the abandoned Blue Harbor terminal with sharp white light. Dust rose from the broken ground as multiple black SUVs stopped outside the rusted gate. The sound of engines faded, replaced by heavy footsteps moving closer through the fog. Ethan Vale, Lily Benson, and Marcus Thorne stood near the edge of the dock, watching the shadows form behind the fence. The air felt heavier now, like the truth itself was waiting to be judged. Ethan's hand stayed close to Lily, ready to move if needed, but Lily did not step back this time. Her eyes stayed fixed on the gate. Marcus leaned slightly on his cane, calm as always, as if he had already seen this moment in advance. They are early, Marcus said quietly. Ethan looked at him. You knew they would come. Marcus nodded once. The board never leaves unfinished business alive. The gate unlocked with a metallic sound. Slowly it opened. Victor Hale stepped forward first, followed by 4 armed security men and 2 senior board members. His expensive coat moved with the wind, his face sharp and controlled. Behind him, Victoria Hale appeared again, her expression colder than before. Victor looked directly at Ethan. You should have stayed in your mansion, he said. Ethan did not respond. Victor then shifted his gaze to Lily. And you, he said with quiet anger, should have remained invisible. Lily stepped forward slightly. You built your power on making people invisible. Victor's eyes narrowed. Careful, you are speaking to the man who controls your future. Lily answered without fear. No, you control only what people allow you to control. A small silence followed. Ethan felt something shift. Lily was no longer just reacting, she was leading. Marcus slowly walked forward, his cane tapping against the concrete. Victor, he said, you always hated delays, so let us end this properly. Victor finally looked at Marcus, his expression tightening. You should be dead. Marcus gave a faint smile. I was useful dead. Alive, I become inconvenient. One of the board members stepped forward. Enough, this is not a debate. We are here to secure Blue Harbor assets and remove threats. Ethan's voice cut through the air. "The only threat here is your lies." Victor raised his hand slightly. "Then let us stop pretending." He turned toward Lily. "That girl's father triggered this entire chain. His mistake started the fire that killed Ethan Vale's parents." Lily shook her head. "My father did not start it, he was used." Victor smiled coldly. "Everyone is used, some just understand it later." Marcus suddenly spoke. "He understood it before he died." All eyes turned to Marcus. He reached into his coat slowly and pulled out a sealed document folder. "This is the original contract," he said. "Signed by your board, ordering systems shut down at Blue Harbor during operational hours." Victor's expression changed slightly for the first time. Ethan stepped forward. "You have proof?" Marcus nodded. "I have always had proof." Victoria shouted, "That document is fake." Marcus looked at her calmly. "Then why are you afraid of it?" A tense silence followed. The wind moved through broken steel beams above them. Lily stepped closer to Ethan. "If that document is real, then your father did not die in an accident," she said softly. Ethan's jaw tightened. "I already knew that." Victor raised his voice. "Enough, take them." The armed men began moving forward. Ethan immediately pulled Lily behind him. Marcus did not move. Instead, he raised his cane slightly. "Before you proceed," he said, "there is one thing you should know." Victor paused. "Speak quickly." Marcus looked at Ethan. "Your father recorded everything on the night of the fire, not just documents, a full audio log." Ethan's eyes widened. "Where is it?" Marcus smiled faintly. "Hidden inside what they thought was destroyed." Victor's face darkened. There was no backup. Marcus shook his head slowly. "You burned the building, not the truth." Lily suddenly stepped forward. "Blue Harbor servers." Marcus nodded. "Correct." Victor shouted, "There are no working servers there." Marcus looked at him directly. "Not in the building." He pointed toward the water. "Under it." Everyone turned toward the dark sea beneath the dock. Ethan realized it instantly. Submerged data vaults. Old emergency storage systems beneath the terminal. Systems no one bothered to fully erase because they believed the fire had ended everything. Victor's calm finally broke. "Stop them now," he shouted. The armed men rushed forward. Ethan grabbed Lily's arm. "Run!" But Marcus raised his cane one final time. A sharp mechanical click echoed. Suddenly, floodlights beneath the dock turned on, illuminating underwater structures below the surface. Metal containers, old data vaults, still intact. Lily stared in shock. "It survived," Marcus nodded. "Because fire cannot erase what was already hidden in water." Ethan looked at Victor. "It is over." Victor's face twisted in anger. "It is never over." He reached for his weapon, but before anything could happen, a loud transmission echoed across the terminal. A recorded voice, Ethan's father, clear, steady, alive in memory. "If you are hearing this, then the system has failed, and so have I." Ethan froze completely. Lily held her breath. Marcus closed his eyes slightly. The voice continued. "Blue Harbor was never just corruption, it was a warning. If this recording is playing, then someone I trusted has betrayed everything." Ethan stepped closer to the sound source, shaken. Victor's face turned pale. The recording ended with one final sentence, "And the truth will choose its own survivors." Silence fell over Blue Harbor. Ethan looked at Lily. Lily looked at Marcus, and Marcus looked at the sea below. The war was no longer about money or power. It had become something deeper, a legacy of truth buried under fire, waiting for the final part to rise from the water. The silence at Blue Harbor Terminal felt heavier than the night itself. Ethan Vale stood frozen, still hearing the last words of his father echoing inside his mind. "The truth will choose its own survivors." Those words changed everything in a single moment. Victor Hale's expression had completely broken now. The calm, powerful man was gone, replaced by someone who was losing control fast. Lily Benson stood beside Ethan, her breathing steady but her eyes sharp, watching every movement. Marcus Thorne slowly lowered his cane, as if the final piece of a long plan had finally fallen into place. Below them, the glowing underwater vaults revealed a hidden world no one had ever seen for years. Old metal containers blinked with emergency lights, still alive under the water like a buried secret refusing to die. Ethan took a step forward toward the edge of the dock. "It is real," he whispered. Marcus nodded slowly. "It has always been real. They just convinced the world it was gone." Victor suddenly shouted, "Shut it down, destroy everything now." His men rushed forward, but Marcus raised his hand calmly. "If you destroy it, you destroy yourself too." The men hesitated. Victoria Hale looked at her father, fear finally breaking through her anger. "Father, what is he talking about?" Victor did not answer. His silence was enough. Lily stepped closer to Ethan. "They are scared," she said quietly. Ethan looked at her. "Because this proves everything." Marcus walked forward toward the control panel near the dock stairs. The fire did not erase the system. It only locked it in emergency mode. He entered a code on an old terminal hidden inside a steel box. The system responded instantly. A deep mechanical sound echoed under the water. The vault lights became brighter. Data systems began to activate after years of silence. Ethan's voice turned low. "My father's recording is inside." Marcus nodded. "Not just his. Many voices." Victor raised his weapon now, completely desperate. "Stop him." But before anyone could move, Lily suddenly stepped in front. "Enough," she said loudly. Everyone stopped. Even Ethan looked at her in shock. Lily's voice did not shake. "You killed people for control. You buried truth for power, but now it is over." Victor stared at her. "You are nothing." Lily replied calmly. "Then why are you afraid of me?" A sudden loud sound came from under the dock. The system fully opened. A large underwater container slowly rose to the surface like something returning from a grave. Metal chains broke as it reached the dock level. Marcus stepped aside. "This is it." Ethan moved closer and placed his hand on the cold metal surface. A scanner light turned on instantly. Then a screen activated. Files appeared, videos, audio logs, names, dates, everything. Ethan's father appeared on the screen in a recorded message. His face was tired but determined. "If you are seeing this, then Blue Harbor has been opened again." Ethan's breath stopped. Lily stood silently behind him. The recording continued. "I trusted people I should not have trusted. The board was never just business. It was control over systems, governments, and lives." Victor dropped his weapon slightly, shaking now. The recording showed documents, signed orders, secret transfers. Then one final section opened. A list of names. Ethan stepped closer. "Victor Hale," he read aloud. Victor closed his eyes. Lily looked at Ethan. "He is not alone," Marcus spoke quietly. "He never was." The recording ended with Ethan's father's final words. "Ethan, if you made it this far, do not stop. Expose them all, even me if I was wrong." Silence covered everything. Ethan stepped back, overwhelmed. The truth was not simple. It was larger than revenge. Lily placed a hand gently on his arm. "What now?" she asked. Ethan looked at the glowing system under the water, then at Victor. Then at Marcus, finally at Lily. "Now," he said slowly, "the world sees everything." Victor suddenly tried to run, but security lights from hidden systems activated. Drones appeared from the dock towers. Old automated security systems, still tied to Ethan's family network, woke up completely. Marcus smiled slightly. "Your father left more than messages." Ethan nodded slowly. "He left a weapon." Victor was stopped immediately by security forces. Victoria collapsed to her knees in shock as her world ended in seconds. News alerts began to spread across hidden channels. Blue Harbor data was uploading to public servers automatically. Every secret, every deal, every order, every crime connected to the board was now exposed. Ethan stood still as chaos unfolded. But inside him, something had changed. It was no longer just pain, it was clarity. Lily looked at him. "It is finished." Ethan shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "It is just beginning." Marcus turned away, walking into the shadows. "The truth always has consequences," he said before disappearing. As dawn slowly broke over Ashford, the city that once worshipped power began to collapse under its own secrets. Ethan Vale stood at the edge of Blue Harbor with Lily beside him, watching the system he inherited change the world forever. And for the first time since the fire that started it all, the truth was no longer buried. It was alive.